Do you want to win a Ford Bronco or $75,000 in cold hard cash? Ridge Wallet are giving you the chance to do just that, so click the link below or stick around to the end of the video to learn more. Gamers! You know that game you were excited about and was coming out in just a few short weeks or months? It just got delayed. Relax, I'm not talking about God of War Ragnarok, though we'll see about that. I'm talking about pretty much every other 2022 release since an absolute buttload of them got delayed this week. It's delay announcement carnage. There aren't enough delayed.jpegs on all of God's green earth to keep up, and I'm just terrified that we're in for a repeat of February 2022, where every big game gets delayed into next February. I get chills just thinking about that. While the big hitters of 2022 all vacate the field, they leave plenty of room for indies to shine, and shine they have. This month has seen some absolute bangers coming from indie studios and labels, stuff like Cult of the Lamb and Rollerdrome. Holy shit, I can't wait to talk more about that one. Before that though, let's spend some time perusing the headlines. There's usually some interesting stuff in there. Why don't we start with that war of words between Sony and Microsoft? You know, the one where Sony argued that it would be impossible to ever compete with Call of Duty because it's so good, and Microsoft are all like, nah man, it's really shit. We're just paying $70 billion for it because we feel sorry for it. Such as the awkward posturing that the regulatory approval surrounding the Activision Blizzard acquisition has birthed. It's been a true sight to behold, and it only got better this week when Microsoft responded to Sony's insinuation that Microsoft buying Call of Duty would be somehow unfair or anti-competitive. Microsoft wrote, quote, "Considering that exclusivity strategies have been at the very core of Sony's strategy to strengthen its presence in the games industry, and that Sony is a leader in the distribution of digital games, Sony's concern with possible exclusivity of Activision's content is incoherent to say the least." End quote. Boom! Uncle Phil don't take no shit. To be clear, I do not have a horse in this race, and I genuinely believe that console warriors are a truly detestable breed of mouth-breathing subhumans. But I think we can all agree that it's pretty funny when the brands start fighting amongst themselves. That's the sort of monkey-fighting Simpsons meme we can all get behind, right? Anyway, it got better when Xbox dropped this little nugget. Sony might be paying developers to keep their games off Game Pass. To again quote Microsoft, "Indeed, Microsoft's ability to continue expanding Game Pass has been obstructed by Sony's desire to inhibit such growth. Sony pays for blocking rights to prevent developers from adding content to Game Pass and other competing subscription services," end quote. Now, as juicy as this sounds, it's not actually a striking revelation. This was apparently revealed during the Apple vs. Epic court case some time back, and even then, it's been common knowledge that Sony has paid premiums to certain publishers to keep certain games off Xbox hardware. So if this is true, and it probably is, it's actually a fairly common tactic used by all console manufacturers as they try to lock down an exclusive third-party lineup. This back and forth between Sony and Microsoft exists in large part because Sony is anxious about the potential loss of Call of Duty appearing on their hardware. They've previously commented that they believe that Call of Duty would influence a console purchase decision, a fact not at all lost on Sony since they negotiated hard to secure exclusive content rights to Call of Duty games in the PS4 era, much to the chagrin of the Xbox community where COD got its start. Microsoft have earlier communicated that they do plan to keep COD available on PlayStation consoles, but this week they went even further than that, saying that taking COD off PlayStation consoles just wouldn't be profitable. In the same document I quoted earlier, Microsoft said, quote, "Regardless of how unsurprising Sony's criticism of content exclusivity is, given that PlayStation's entire strategy has been centered on exclusivity over the years," geez, even more shade, calm down Phil, "the reality is that the strategy of retaining Activision Blizzard games by not distributing them in rival console shops would simply not be profitable for Microsoft. Such a strategy would be profitable only if Activision Blizzard's games were able to attract a sufficiently large number of gamers to the Xbox console ecosystem, and if Microsoft could earn enough revenue from game sales to offset the losses from not distributing such games on rival consoles," end quote. They'd go on to explain this in more detail, saying that the PlayStation has a very loyal and entrenched user base, hard-won from previous generations of the console wars. Microsoft's words, not mine. So it's unlikely that the number of people switching from PlayStation to Xbox would make up for all of the lost revenue that Microsoft could have had they just kept selling Call of Duty on Sony's hardware. It's an argument that essentially boils down to exclusive content isn't that good when you really think about it, which is somewhere in line with their argument that actually COD kinda sucks, right guys? This console war of words is likely in its final stages now as regulators are wrapping up their approval of this deal, so it's unlikely we'll get too many of these glimpses behind the curtain, but goddamn, it was certainly fun while it lasted. This past few years, Xbox has embraced the PC as one of their central growth vectors, and it's a strategy that's paid big dividends to the point where it's pretty clear that Sony are now following suit. In addition to ports for some of their biggest titles like Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, and Spider-Man, Sony also recently purchased PC port house Nixxes Software. Further solidifying this commitment to the PC platform, Sony have just launched a new section on their website that showcases their current and upcoming PC titles, and if a recent leak is accurate, we may expect a Sony PC games launcher on the way as well. Video Game Chronicle confirmed the presence of files in Spider-Man's PC port that make reference to a launcher, as well as hints that you'll be able to access your PSN account while playing PlayStation games on PC. This means that friends list and trophies would be included, a huge deal given that these things are some of the biggest reasons people stick with platform ecosystems over the long term. This sort of stuff does feel a little inevitable given PlayStation's current trajectory, so I reckon watch this space. One last piece of Sony news, we got some more details about that upcoming Ghost of Tsushima movie, and it looks like it's going to go the whole hog when it comes to delivering an authentically Japanese experience. Director Chad Stahelski, who's previously directed John Wick films, says that he wants, quote, a complete Japanese cast speaking in Japanese. Sony is on board with backing us on that, end quote. To moviegoers, the idea of subtitled movies is still seen as a bit of a barrier for broader adoption, but in the gaming space, where we consume so much Japanese content, it's way less scary, and many of us are playing Japanese games with the Japanese subs on because it just feels right. I'm sure it'd be the same here, so I think this is actually a pretty awesome direction for the director to take. One of the best things to go down this week was the THQ Nordic Showcase. It was a really interesting and eclectic mix of AA titles, a category that I think is so important and only becoming more important as most game dev these days sits in either the AAA or indie buckets. AA games are often janky, but they're full of ideas and ambition, and I'm glad that developers are risking their bottom lines to make this sort of stuff for us when they could be chasing far safer bets. The showcase itself was full of awesome reveals, like this one. Check it out. This is Tempest Rising, and it's absolutely trying to be Command & Conquer in all but name, and I love it for that. Command & Conquer was my shit back in the day, and to know that someone is carrying that torch forward, that makes me super happy. Outside of that, we got a new look at the Gothic remake. Here comes some gameplay.
Come on, let's head back. This is too dangerous.
Now go back to that piss hole of a camp. No way, man. Not until we find that stack.
Not too shabby at all. One title that got plenty of interest was Recreation, a new sandbox racer from a bunch of veteran developers behind games like Burnout and Need for Speed. Every chance this one is going to be pretty great with talent like that behind the wheel. Certainly one of the biggest announcements was for SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake. Turns out those recent SpongeBob remasters weren't just to squeeze out a few extra dollars, they were to warm everyone up for the idea of a full-blown SpongeBob sequel, and here it is. This is a brand new title built on the same DNA of the classic 3D platformers. You don't see many of these 3D platformers these days, so it's nice that we get another one, especially based on such a beloved franchise. And finally, the money shot, the big reveal for the showcase, which was earlier leaked by The Snitch, but that's pretty common at this point. Alone in the Dark is back.
Have you ever talked to a doctor about your condition?
This is madness!
Are you crazy?
Fall on your knees, wear the mask, praise his name.
Before Resident Evil came along, Alone in the Dark was an absolute pioneer in the survival horror space, offering up a more Americana-infused horror than the schlocky grindhouse stuff of Resident Evil. Think True Detective, only an actual horror experience, and that's kind of the vibe Alone in the Dark was chasing. This new game is a reboot of the franchise that ties directly into the events of the first game, and yeah, I'm super down for this. I really like the old Alone in the Dark games. I played them back in the day, and they offered a different vision of survival horror that would later be trounced by the overwhelming success of Resident Evil. I think one of the reasons I liked Resident Evil 7 so much was because it felt kind of alone in the dark in its setting and presentation. So this is great, I'm keen, and we can sit it alongside the 6 sci-fi survival horror games releasing next year. Hey, we got a little bit more info on Beyond Good and Evil 2 this week. Tom Henderson has been out in front on the reporting for this one, and according to him, the title is not close to a release date. In an article titled Beyond Good and Evil 2 Still Needs a Few More Years, Henderson reports that he has personally seen footage of the game provided to him by an external playtester, and he says the game is looking less complete than it did back in 2018, indicating that the title has been rebooted. No surprises there. He says the game will include some sort of character creator. He saw one character that looked like a panda and another that looked like a shark. That's pretty cool. Any game where you get to play as a shark is alright in my book. Shout out to Maneater. Henderson will go on to say, quote, sources have said that the game still feels years away and lacks direction, while another source said that they had no idea what I was doing when playing, end quote. Not a great collection of quotes for a game that is 15 years into its development cycle. That's longer than Star Citizen, though to be fair, Ubisoft haven't asked people to donate $300+ million towards this game's development, so I think they deserve some recognition for that. One game that isn't currently in development, but that we all desperately wish was, is Deus Ex. The series had a fantastic reboot last gen thanks to Eidos Montreal, but it didn't sell to Square's satisfaction, and so the IP was shelved in favor of Guardians of the Galaxy. Now listen, I loved Guardians of the Galaxy, it was incredible. But I do wish there was some bizarro multiverse where Deus Ex 3 and Guardians of the Galaxy got to exist at the same time. I'm not alone in that, it seems, as Eidos Montreal themselves are champing at the bit to get back to the Deus Ex franchise, and they've got good reason to be optimistic given the recent acquisition of their studio by Embracer Group. Speaking recently during a Giant Bomb Game Mess morning podcast, Jeff Grubb said, quote, it's early. The rumblings I've heard is that the studio wants to immediately get back into Deus Ex. They want to get right back into that. They want to challenge. They want to do what Cyberpunk 2077 couldn't, and stuff like that. That's the word going around. We'll see if that happens, end quote. The Deus Ex team aiming at what Cyberpunk tried to do? I don't know, man, that sounds like a lot. Part of the reason that Cyberpunk disappointed so many was that it reached for a little too much, and I think the constraint and focus of the Deus Ex games have been one of the pillars of their success. I don't necessarily want a massive Cyberpunk-sized Deus Ex game. I just want a Deus Ex game. Either way, I hope Eidos Montreal get what they're hoping for and are able to start production soon, since you got to imagine a good 4 to 5 years dev time for whatever it is they choose to make, and that brings us to like 2027 before release. And that just hurts to say. Briefly, there was a Diablo IV leak last week, but there isn't too much to it. It did come from the closed friends and family test going on right now. I can't show it here due to copyright reasons, but stuff like the class selection screen, aka the campfire, the character creator, the difficulty selection screen, and a bunch of gameplay was leaked. Like I said, not super juicy stuff, but if you're really keen for every droplet of Diablo IV news, you can do some Googling and find those images pretty quickly. Alright, you feeling good? You feeling happy? Feeling like nothing can bring you down? Or well, how about this? PT came out 8 years ago this week. How the fuck has it been 8 years? Jeez, it feels like 8 months tops. And to think we could have had a Silent Hill game made not only by Hideo Kojima, but also Guillermo del Toro. Clearly we flew too close to the sun with that one. 8 years on, the former Konami employee responsible for uploading PT to the PSN and subsequently delisting it has spoken out about what it was like to go through all of that. Pearl L took to Twitter to say, quote, fun fact, since I was the first party lead at the time at Konami, I helped get this product set up on the storefronts, fake publisher and everything, and I was the one who had to call Sony and ask them to take it down and block re-downloads. That was a super fun conversation, end quote. According to Pearl, the PT delisting was the very first time Sony had ever been asked to delist a game and block future downloads of it, requiring specific engineering fixes and workarounds. Such is the legendary dick status of Konami that they managed to create an entirely new, shitty way to delete games from existence purely so they could play out their petty vendetta against Kojima. I think Del Toro put it perfectly when he sent out his own tribute to the 8-year anniversary of PT, saying, quote, FK, or as we gamers like to say it, fuck Konami. A quick lightning round to finish. Dragon Ball Z is now in Fortnite. Not gonna lie, I'm neither a Dragon Ball nor Fortnite fan, but this does look very cool, and I've again done that thing where I download Fortnite with the hopes of playing it, only to uninstall it 2 weeks later without ever having played it. EA says that everyone loves their loot boxes, actually. No, we fucking don't. Fuck you. Disney has announced a Disney Marvel Gaming Showcase. It'll go live on September 9th at 1 PM PT, and you can expect to see stuff for Disney's Dreamlight Valley, Marvel's Midnight Suns, Lego Star Wars, and even a sneak peek at the upcoming Amy Hennig Star Wars game. Best of all, it's being hosted by my friend Blessing, who is just a top tier dude, and they couldn't have chosen a better host. Love it. The next game from Subnautica developer Unknown Worlds will be revealed at Gamescom opening night live next week. Hopefully it's Subnautica 2, that'd be awesome. By the way, if you want to get the inside scoop on Gamescom, the Game Awards, and a whole bunch of other stuff, then be sure to tune in to the latest episode of the Friends Per Second podcast. Lucy James and I interviewed Jeff Keighley himself. He had lots to say. It was a very cool chat. Link below the like button. And finally, there was a fire at Nintendo's offices. 8 fire engines were dispatched to the location. Luckily, it was localized and no one was hurt. Police do suspect arson and have released this photo of the suspect. So, what got announced or delayed this week? Well, buckle up, people, because this week is an absolutely wild week for announcements and a catastrophic week for delays. Holy shit. Kicking things off is Moonscars, an indie title that caught my eye some weeks back owing to its awesome art design and excellent animations. I played this one during the recent Steam Next Fest and really loved it. This week it got a release date announcement, September 27th, and it's coming day one to Game Pass. Put this one on your radar, people. I think it's going to be pretty great. Multiverses is officially out. The release of Season 1 was delayed recently, but it turns out that delay was very temporary indeed, as Season 1 officially began on the 15th, bringing a new battle pass as well as Morty, but he'll arrive a little later on the 23rd. Multiverses is absolutely blowing up, so if you're keen to get in on the ground floor, then now's the time to jump in. Also, there's rumors that Black Adam will be joining the game at some point. I wonder if The Rock will be voicing him, and all the voice lines will just be him promoting that stupid energy drink. Avatar: The Last Airbender is getting a new video game. It's an open-world RPG based on the events of the TV series where you get to control the main characters. Sounds pretty awesome, right? Well, what if I told you it's mobile exclusive? Obviously, that does take some of the air out of the sails, no pun intended, but I wouldn't dismiss this totally out of hand. There are plenty of great mobile RPGs, so hopefully this is one of them. Having said that, this footage from the closed beta test doesn't look super great, so I don't know. We'll find out soon, I guess, since the game is being soft launched this month in select territories, and you can sign up for it now on both the Google and iOS storefronts. Hey, this looks pretty cool. This is the first Descendant, which was revealed a while back under the project name Magnum, but it now has an official name. It's a third-person sci-fi shooty game running in Unreal Engine 5. It's looking very flashy indeed, to the point where I do wonder if the final product ends up looking like this. Either way, this has a lot of Outriders, Destiny, Warframe, Anthem energy, and I'm always down for that sort of formula if the developers can stick the landing. There's no date for it yet, but you can sign up for it now on their website. I'm assuming they're going to do a whole bunch of beta testing before launch. Lego Brick Towers is a charming puzzle game where you have to build Lego contraptions to solve problems. This game was initially announced for PC, but it's only just now been announced for consoles as well. There's no date for it yet, but they have confirmed it's coming sometime this year, and if you want to get a taste for it, there's currently a demo up on Steam. Hey, here's something unexpected. Private Division, the publisher behind stuff like Rollerdrome, Ollie Ollie World, and The Outer Worlds, is making a Tolkien Middle-earth game in collaboration with Weta Workshop. The announcement hit Twitter a few days ago, and it did clarify that this is based on the literary universe of Middle-earth, not the films from Peter Jackson or the upcoming Amazon show, which everyone is low-key nervous about. No further details, and it does sound like we shouldn't expect to hear more about this one for another 3 to 4 years-ish. Oh boy, here we go, Guild Wars time. Actually, Austin, you can take this bit.
My loyal subjects, the almighty Gaben has descended from the heavens to present to you a gift. The gift of Guild Wars 2. That's right, it's coming to Steam on August 23rd. This has been a long time coming. It's unarguably one of the best MMORPGs on the market, and I'm so excited for the world to rediscover it. We're about to celebrate the 10th anniversary. There's going to be new rewards, free goodies, Twitch drops, the whole shebang. There's also been a myriad of new player improvements recently, so if you've been on the fence about jumping in, now's as good a time as any.
Thank you, Austin, our resident Guild Wars correspondent. I would say that I would be interested to check this out, but it's launching the same day as the next Destiny season. And we all love Destiny. Am I right, guys? Anyone? Okay, let's move on. Finally, an announcement that I'm really interested in, but also a little confused by, is Soccer Story. I thought this might be a sequel to the excellent Golf Story, a golf RPG hybrid that was exclusive to the Switch a few years ago. The team behind that game is currently working on something called Sports Story. That seems like it's still quite a ways off. This one, though, is from a different developer and publisher, and it has a different art style, but it does seem to be doing a similar thing, combining sports and classic Zelda-style adventure RPG. This one also has multiplayer, which is kind of interesting. I'm keeping a close eye on it. I think it looks cool. It's coming to all platforms, including Game Pass, sometime this year, and you can sign up to beta test it over on their website. Alright, time for those delays. Here we go. First up, Metal Slug Tactics. This was announced a while back, and it just makes too much sense, since the mechanized machinations of the Metal Slug IP fit all too neatly into a tactics wrapper. This was scheduled for a 2022 release, but has now slipped to sometime in 2023, no specific date yet. Here's one I'm super bummed about, Nightingale. This is an upcoming story-driven survival game with a really unique aesthetic, which I'm told is now being referred to as lamplit, which, yeah, that's a nice shorthand for it. This one comes from a bunch of ex-BioWare developers setting up their own studio led by BioWare veteran Aaron Flynn. I spoke with him while I was in LA about Nightingale, and he shared with me some really interesting stuff. Stuff that's not out there yet, so I won't spoil it, but it definitely piqued my interest and made me really pumped to see more. Sadly, I'm going to have to wait a bit longer for that, since the game was meant to launch into early access sometime this year, but it too has now slipped into 2023, no new date yet. Arc Raiders, remember this one? So this is from Patrick Soderlund's studio. He used to be the number 2 man at EA before he struck out on his own, raising a bunch of money and setting up Embark Studios. We thought that they were working on just Arc Raiders, which is still pretty mysterious, but it has this very cool lo-fi sci-fi thing going on, almost War of the Worlds meets Destiny. Turns out this wasn't the only thing that Embark were working on. They were also developing a team-based competitive shooter. The plan was to launch Arc Raiders first and then the team shooter second, but given their resource constraints, Embark have decided to flip this and will now launch their team shooter first. Arc Raiders gets pushed to an unknown date in the future. They say it's going to be 2023, but it kind of feels like this is going to be 2024 or beyond. Deliver Us Mars is the follow-up to the well-received Deliver Us the Moon. They're immersive sci-fi thrillers where a lone astronaut has to make their way through abandoned space colonies, or at least they hope they're abandoned. Deliver Us Mars was targeting this year, but will now launch 2nd of February 2023. But wait, there's more. Evil West is like Devil May Cry but with cowboys, and it looks fucking sick, and every new trailer they release looks better than the last. Evil West was originally slated for September this year. Luckily, it's bucking the trend, and it's still coming in 2022, but it now arrives on November 22nd. Really looking forward to that one, actually. 2 more to go. Marvel's Midnight Suns is the next big thing from Firaxis, makers of the XCOM series. I think this looks awesome. The game is copping some heat for its more traditional roster choices and its very controversial card-based combat system, but I trust Firaxis. This team knows what they're doing, and if they think a card-based system is the way to go, then I'm with them on that journey. The game has already been delayed, but this week it copped another delay, and it's a big one. The game was initially meant to launch before March of this year, and then it got pushed to October of this year. Now it's being pushed to an unknown date, but apparently it will arrive before the end of March 2023. That's pretty big, but like I said, this is a studio that knows what it's doing, so if they say they need more time, then fair enough. And finally, the biggest and least surprising delay announcement is for Hogwarts Legacy, the upcoming Harry Potter game from Warner Brothers. This thing is looking very ambitious indeed, and given how big the marketing push for this will no doubt be, it's not at all surprising that this got pushed to next year, since we would have already been awash with adverts if it was coming anytime soon. The new date is February 10th next year, and I'm already having PTSD at the thought of every big game getting delayed to February next year, resulting in another hellish month where I'm chained to my couch to review 6 months worth of games in roughly 20 business days. One thing to note about the Hogwarts delay is that the Switch version of the game has been shifted to an unknown date, which wasn't previously the plan. Given how good this looks, graphically speaking, it's no surprise to see the Switch port is proving to be a little tricksy. Hopefully they don't end up casting a cancellation spell on it, because that would be a bummer. And that is everything that got delayed. For now, tune in next week for more delays and disappointment. Remember, don't shoot the messenger. Like and subscribe. So what came out last week? Well, it wasn't just a big week for announcements and delays, it was also a pretty huge week for releases. Let's do 2 Point Campus first, the folksy management game from veteran Sim Hospital developers. 2 Point Campus is delighting both the punters and the critics alike. Steam has this one at a very positive 86%, and critics have it at about the same at a mighty 84%. Eurogamer recommended this one, saying, quote, just as it did with 2 Point Hospital, 2 Point Studios has combined neatly overlapping management systems with an irrepressibly oddball charm, end quote. Lost in Play is that beautifully animated adventure game about two kids exploring their own dreamscapes. This one is kind of flying under the radar, it seems. 99% of Steam reviews are positive for this, which is crazy, and OpenCritic has this at a mighty 84%. These are some pretty impressive numbers. The 6th Axis scored this a perfect 10 out of 10, saying, quote, Lost in Play is an outstanding puzzle adventure game that can be played by everyone. The art design is fantastic, the puzzles are varied while offering a bit of a challenge, and it's just a wholesome story about two kids using their imaginations to create a world to have an adventure in, end quote. If you're a point-and-click adventure game fan, then this one looks to be a little bit unmissable. Arcade Paradise is that weird one where you work in a laundromat and you slowly transform it into an arcade. Incredible premise, by the way. Reviews for this one are a little more restrained than some of the other stuff landing this week, but it's still hit a respectable 83% very positive on Steam and a strong 76 on OpenCritic. Video Game Chronicle scored it a 4 out of 5, saying, quote, while it takes a while to get going, Arcade Paradise is an outstanding celebration of the 90s arcade scene with a generous helping of fully playable retro love letters, end quote. So how about Rumbleverse? Well, this one launched last week on PlayStation, Xbox, and the Epic Game Store. Unfortunately, we can't get a view on either player counts or user scores owing to Epic's approach to that stuff, but critics seem to really like it, even though there aren't many scores out yet. Mitchell Saltzman is an IGN reviewer I really trust, and he scored the game a 9 out of 10, saying, quote, Rumbleverse combines all of the deep mental mind games and combat sensibilities of a fighting game with the last person standing objective of a battle royale to incredible effect, leading to one of the most refreshing takes on the battle royale genre in recent memory, end quote. I've seen plenty of clips for this and they all look awesome. I don't think there are OCE servers for this one though, so I'm kind of holding off until that happens. If it ever happens, we'll see. Alright, time for the big hitters. First up, Marvel's Spider-Man, which arrived on PC this week to rapturous applause, though slightly more muted compared to that of God of War. The big question with this release wasn't, is it a good game? Because we already knew that Spidey was awesome. The question was, is this a good port? And I'm pleased to tell you that yes, it definitely is. Solid performance and optimization across the board, though a few people have shouted out some issues on lower spec hardware. Surprisingly, the Steam Deck handles this super well. You can get a locked 30 FPS on this, but I like to push it to 45 since the deck can easily handle that in internal spaces. Either way, it's a fantastic port of a fantastic game and a testament to Sony's commitment to the PC platform. If you want to learn more about it, I'll leave a link to my review below the like button. And finally, Cult of the Lamb. Oh boy, I don't think anyone expected this one to go quite as large as it did. It peaked at 56,000 concurrent players on Steam at one point for a little $20 indie title. Truly amazing. I reviewed this one actually, and it uncovered parts of me that I didn't know existed, and now that I know they're there, I'm unsettled. This is a deeply messed up game, but goddamn is it good. A brilliant combination of roguelike dungeoning and lightweight Animal Crossing style management. I strongly recommended this one. Link to the review below the like button. I certainly wasn't alone in that recommendation, with the game sitting at 89 very positive on Steam and a mighty 85 on OpenCritic. One thing to shout out though, and I didn't experience this personally, was that the game is apparently fairly buggy, particularly on consoles. As awesome as Cult of the Lamb is, you may want to wait a few weeks for a few bug patches to roll through. After that, you're golden, you're going to absolutely love it. So what's coming out this week? Well, this is a very strong week for indies and AA titles, and what better way to kick it off than with Rollerdrome. That launched yesterday for the PC and PlayStation. Oh my god, this fucking rules. I can't believe how good it is. I really did go in expecting something that was all sizzle, no sausage, just a cool looking game where I roll around for a bit and then move on. Hell no, this is a brilliantly designed video game in every facet. Visuals, sound, music, maps, enemy design, weapons. All of it is just so expertly constructed and carved back until only its most essential elements remain. 12 maps, 6 enemy types, 4 weapons, and that is it. But what a brilliant symphony of violence and acrobatics you can conduct here. If you want to learn more about this one, then I'll leave a link to my review below the like button. Also recommend checking out the review of my friend Jake Baldino. He loved it just as much as I did. I'll leave a link to his review below as well. Tribes of Midgard is another one that released yesterday, though this was already out on PlayStation and PC. Nintendo drones and Xbox can now enjoy this colorful ARPG, which does have a seasonal content model supporting it, so it's always getting new content. This next one's for the gamers, and by that I mean game. You know, like hunting game? Yeah, you get it. You love it. Way of the Hunter. It's a hunting game. I don't know anything about it other than you hunt things, and it's out on all platforms but the Switch right now. When you finish a hunt, you can be like, GG. Good game. Never mind. It's time to take mouth mode to the next level with Kirby's Dream Buffet. Seeking to promote a positive body image, Kirby's Dream Buffet argues persuasively that round is beautiful, and its weird collection of minigames task you with the goal of becoming the fattest of all the Kirbys. Can you eat more than your friends and tip the scales in your favor? Find out today, exclusive to the Switch. Curse to Golf is one that I've been playing through on my Steam Deck this past week, and I can confirm it's absolutely delightful. It's a mini golf style game with plenty of charm and a neat trick in the form of playable cards which can do funky stuff to your balls. Your golf balls, that is. Want to stop your ball in midair? There's a card for that. Want explosive balls? I'm still talking about golf, by the way, so yeah, you do, and there's a card for that too. Curse to Golf is hitting all platforms on the 18th. Thymesia. This is a Souls-like which has been in development for quite some time. It hits all platforms on the 18th. Previews for this were a little mixed, and reviews seem to have landed in a similar spot. It's sitting at a nice 69 on OpenCritic. IGN scored this one a 6 out of 10, saying, quote, Thymesia's aggressive combat can be enjoyable, but it's an adventure that's easily forgettable otherwise, end quote. While GameSpot were a little more impressed, scoring it an 8 and saying, quote, drawing from Bloodborne and Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, Thymesia creates a Souls-like experience that iterates on what's most important about FromSoft's beloved titles, end quote. We Are OFK is an angsty narrative adventure game that's about a band trying to make its way on the scene, each of its members confronting the perils of friendship, dating, and trying to make rent. Really lovely art style here, debut game from this studio. It's arriving on PlayStation, Switch, and PC on the 18th. And finally, there's a new Madden game coming out, but absolutely nobody cares. Hey, put this on your radar. Regular watchers of this show will know that I'm trying to diversify away from this segment, always shouting out dark, 2D action RPGs with Souls-like elements. So may I introduce to you The Last Faith, a dark 2D action RPG with Metroidvania elements. See, I really got you on that one. For real though, I'm really trying to diversify this segment, but just look at this, man. Look at how cool this is. Look at this art. Look at these animations. You get to rip the wings off these gargoyle creature things and then toss them away and stomp on their heads. How badass is that? This is the second game from this studio, their first being a mobile title. This is a big step up, but I love the look of it. Obviously wearing its Castlevania inspirations on its sleeve, but I'm in full support of that since it's not like we're getting a new Castlevania game anytime soon. Maybe TV shows, that's about it really. The Last Faith doesn't have a date yet, but it is coming sometime this year. If you'd like to wishlist it, I'll leave a link to it over on my Steam Curator page, which also features links to all of the other Put This On Your Radar titles I've mentioned in the past. I'll leave a link to all of that below the like button. Sort of free stuff time now, and lots of good stuff to shout out this week. First up as always is Epic, who right now is serving up Cook Serve Delicious 3. It's a food truck game that combines greasy sandwiches with gangland warfare, not unlike The Sopranos. Grab it quick though, because soon it'll tick over to some free in-game content for Rumbleverse, a nice excuse to download that one and give it a shot. The revised PS Plus service continues to spread its wings, dragon wings that is, since the first 3 Yakuza games are available to all PS Plus Extra subscribers. Though to be fair, Kiryu's dragon doesn't have wings, but let's not let the facts get in the way of some literary hijinks. Dead by Daylight, Bugsnax, and Ghost Recon Wildlands also headline this month's offering, but buried in the small text are Trials of Mana and a personal favorite, Metro Exodus, a more controversial entry into the Metro series owing to its semi-open world format. I still think this was awesome, and if you haven't checked it out, I strongly recommend doing so. Xbox Game Pass is up, winding up its weekly counterpunch, and while it isn't exactly a haymaker, it certainly isn't a glancing blow either. Coffee Talk is a game about talking to fantasy characters about their problems, healing them through the power of listening and caffeine. Very wholesome. Opus Echo of Starsong is one that a huge number of people have been recommending to me for a while now. It's meant to be an absolutely superb visual novel, 97% overwhelmingly positive on Steam by the way. Immortal Phoenix Rising was one of my games of the year last year. I really love this a lot. It's the Ubisoft formula done right, and I hear they're working on a sequel, which I'm very pumped for. Midnight Fight Express is a day one new release, the work of one developer looking to serve up his own take on John Wick. I played the demo of this a while back and it's looking very solid indeed. And finally, I implore you to have on your radar Immortality from Sam Barlow, the guy behind the likes of Telling Lies and Her Story. Fantastic FMV detective games that really stay with you when you're done with them. Immortality received a rare 10 out of 10 score from Edge magazine, and I believe that's the first time they've ever awarded a 10 to an indie title before. This is shaping up to be excellent. It's out on August 30th, and it will be day one Game Pass. Finally, it's not sort of free stuff, but it is a hella good deal. Humble Bundle are doing a Resident Evil celebratory bundle thing right now, and you can get pretty much every modern Resident Evil game except for Village for around 40 Australian dollars, which is probably around 25 US dollars. Absolutely insane value. That's roughly 10% of what you'd pay if you purchased all of those separately. The offer ends in about 5 days, so be sure to get in quick. Guys, this episode is long, so for the feel-good story of the week, we're just going to play that trailer of the game with the squirrel with the gun. Yes, this is an actual video game that was revealed this week. It's innovatively titled Squirrel with a Gun, allowing you to harass civilians and execute people with sick combos like this. Will this be good? Almost certainly not, but will it overtake TikTok for a week and spawn an entire subgenre of animal plus gun games? Yes, it will, and I'm all for that. Guys, what a show. Holy hell, absolutely huge. A big shout out to Austin for putting this one together. 1 like equals 1 thank you to Austin. Can we get this video to 20,000 Austin thank yous? Let's find out. If it's more content you're interested in, then boy oh boy, have we got a big month lined up. We've got a Saints Row review hitting next week. I'm angling to get an Immortality review in, and I've got some other coals in the fire that I can't talk about quite yet. But if you'd like to be here for it, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and ding the notification bell so you won't miss an upload. Thank you again for watching. I always appreciate your time, and a big thank you to this week's sponsor, Ridge Wallet. Peace. Alright, you got a cool wallet, a cool keychain. You know what you need to go with it? A cool car. Yeah, that's how accessorizing works, right? If it sounds ridiculous, then you just haven't heard about the Ridge Wallet Ford Bronco giveaway, where you can win an actual automobile. Don't want a car for some reason? How about some cash? $75,000. Could you fit all of that cash into a Ridge Wallet? Unlikely, but I think it'd be cool to try, and you can try for yourself if you're lucky enough to scoop up that prize. Ridge Wallets have been my wallet of choice for years now. I've been using Ridge Wallet before they sponsored me. I saw it somewhere on YouTube since they're big into the whole influencer marketing thing. I've had one for almost 2 years, I think, before Ridge sent me a brand new one called North Shore. I really like this design. But if you don't like it, that's okay, because there are tons more colors to choose from matte black to navy to red to neon tiki? That's new. They also come in a variety of materials, from aluminium, or aluminum as Americans call it, to carbon fiber to straight up titanium. Is this the same stuff they use on rockets? I don't know, but it sounds cool, and it certainly won't ever bend when you sit on it. Ridge Wallets can hold all of your cards, well, within reason, and they have different options for the back, including both a money clip and an elastic money strap. I prefer the strap personally. They're just an extremely comfortable and durable means of keeping your cards and cash safe. Those bulky leather wallets, I can't imagine ever going back to one of those now. These just sit so much more comfortably on the body, you notice it less, and they just look cooler. Ridge's Bronco giveaway gives you 1 entry for every dollar you spend at their website before September 30th. Grab yourself a wallet for a chance to win. Grab another wallet for your mate or your dad or your brother, or just another one to treat yourself, and every additional purchase increases your chance of winning. Best of all, Ridge Wallet is a friend of the channel, and as such, you can get a 10% discount on any purchase when you use offer code SKILLUP at checkout. That's offer code SKILLUP at ridge.com/skillup for a 10% discount site-wide. Link to that pin below. Give it a click. Best of luck. I hope you win, and a big thanks to Ridge for sponsoring this video.